bond is iron. Our will unbreakable. Who will stand against us?
Greetings and salutations, everyone. Throughout the years of Warcraft, we've encountered its many characters, to its valorous, badass, sympathetic, and recognizable heroes. But we're not here to gush on them. Perhaps another day, maybe. No, today the characters we're talking on are the villains, to the insidious, extraordinary, tragic, and distinct. Warcraft villains complement the heroes, and some of them are among the best in my book. To the iconic Lord of the Damned, Arthas Menethil the Lich King, whose story was paved the way with good intentions until it marched him straight into hell. Warnings he simply did not accept and pushed him to the peaks of Icecrown, where he would begin his reign and end his reign as the King of the Scourge. To the monstrous Deathwing, once known as Neltharion, a tragic figure forced into servitude by the corruptive Old Gods, creating havoc in his wake. His hold over the earth ultimately burning and reshaping the world in a cataclysm not yet topped, whose very path of destruction still shakes Azeroth to this very day. So much so that he even got rid of the old world. Are we sure he's a villain? Alright, I was joking. Sheesh. To the calculative, scheming, and quite vile Orc Warlock, Gul'dan, whose very crave for power denied him a chance at ever being capable for good. His intent dooming the Orcish people and others, on twice, maybe thrice over in many differing occasions. And of course, one of my favorites is Garrosh Hellscream, an Orcish leader figure with a promising bloodline, given a chance to prove himself time and time again. A figure who clung to the past, alienating others and leaving his very people and the Horde down a road that was quite unforgivable. His very pride and stubbornness that ultimately prevented him from ever achieving that heroism and praise that he craved from others, leading him to a doomed existence. I'd probably be here all day if I continued to list off all of my favorite villains from Warcraft, but I think you guys get the picture too. Villains are just cool, especially in Warcraft, and there are just so many of them that make Warcraft what it is, that keep it fresh and still enjoyable to return to. These villains are all vital to why we're still fighting for our world and many others. You've gotta have both to make a world and a story work. Not all stories need them, maybe, but certainly Warcraft is barren without them. We got to understand their backgrounds, their motivations, their history, anytime we witnessed them on the battlefield or in the skies. To just see them, it gave us that wow factor. It made it all the more glorious and epic when, after all the carnage that had been sown throughout the years, and that expansion, all the more sweeter when we brought them to an end with their stories. Sometimes it was a little sad, sometimes it brought on a new era, and sometimes it gave others a chance to correct their mistakes. But in general, for a while we were definitely in a very good spot with our villains. Until we weren't. At least, for a time. In my opinion, when Xavius was absolutely curve-stomped by us after what he did to Ysera, and after Gul'dan was struck down by Illidan Stormrage, given the same treatment he delivered to King Varian Wrynn in a super satisfying manner, I'll add. That was for Vol'jin, you fuck. We definitely lost what made our villains special and stand out. Archimonde the Defiler, an iconic villain for the Reign of Chaos, as he destroyed the humans' lands, used the undead for his own ends, and attempted to corrupt and bring the orcs back into the Legion's fold, and tried to drain the Night Elves' world tree for power, was ultimately just a strange, confusing, and honestly a forced cameo and end boss for the Draenor expansion. An appearance still debated today if it was our Archimonde or another. It was totally another Archimonde, by the way. Kil'jaeden the Deceiver, the right hand of the Burning Legion, while good in most of his appearances, namely cinematics, fell short in just how many appearances there really were, which were not a lot. Ending his story right when it was just starting to get good, I feel, and easily should have been the true final boss of Legion. Not this guy, Argus, whom I feel lacked a character, despite being super tragic when you look at his entire background of just being a weapon to others. He was definitely more of a force than an actual being, which, in my opinion, just kinda sucks. Or Prophet Zul, a Zandalari whom witnessed the end of the world and wanted to give the trolls another chance at their empire over the world, and was quickly brought down and then made second banana to this artificial old god slug looking dude, G'huun, and brought down yet again. A villain who very easily could have been a reoccurring one in his appearances, desperate each time to get that world that he dreams of. N'Zoth, the very old god responsible for corrupting both Queen Azshara, Neltharion, aka Deathwing, and reigning in the Emerald Nightmare for his own ends, was quickly brought down as well, even after he became the very first old god to get free, even after he managed to spark up the Dark Dream city of Ny'alotha, even when we fought him on his own turf in said city. After years of him deliberating his schemes to be freed and take Azeroth for himself, only to get lasered in the face and to be completely dusted. Seemingly dead for good, but I'll continue to cope that he's somewhere out there still, maybe in a dagger and such. So many villains who absolutely had everything going for them. The backgrounds, the look, even the motivations, were mostly just not given the screen time or were just done away with too fast. That was the vast majority of the antagonists from Warlords of Draenor, Legion, and Battle for Azeroth. But there is one villain, so horrific, so bad, so beyond words of the English diction at times, that I'm about to discuss, that really just takes the cake and mutates it into some kind of flood mold pastry, and not in a cool fashion, but just in an ugly, stinking, revolting fashion. The Jailer. Yep. We'll never seem to get rid of him, even after all these years later. Zovol, aka the Jailer, was and is Warcraft's worst villain, to his design, motivations, background, and role within the story. Points that have all been said to death, about this particular character. His design is this weird, tall-paled human with a hole in his chest, nipples out, and a face that only the cousin of the handsome Squidward could maybe love. He does sort of redeem himself here in his final form, but even that just feels like he's trying to posture himself as the Mega Lich King. His motivations are vague as heck, stated to us on his friggin' deathbed, trying to paint himself as the good guy, even when he's clearly been trying to warp reality to his Diet Hot Topic realm of chains and such. His backstory is all over the place, as he was once in charge of sorting everyone to their specific afterlife. Until one day he either had enough or saw something so spooky from a mortal's life, he assumed things were just gonna go bad, so he tried to yoink everybody's special keys to get to the realm of creation. Didn't work, got locked up in the Maw, a really bad hell, and somehow locked in and use the magics that bound him as his own superpower to dominate others, get free, and get far more interesting entities to help him out of getting out and getting to that one realm of creation, Zereth Mortis. Ooh. Entrapping his real jailer, and actually cooler dude, the Primus, and forcing him to make Frostmourne and the Lich King to convolute themselves somehow over to the Dreadlords and kill Jaden, only for those Lich Kings to tell him to f*** off when he tries to use them. So that flops, and he resorts to Plan Z, I'm guessing, probably, and somehow convinces Sylvanas to work for him. And the rest is history, but good golly god, ow, he hurts me in a special way. Oh. His role is a manipulator, corruptor, and so-called mastermind, of really just cheesing his way into things and relying on actual masterminds to get his plan even close to rolling. Having one of the worst hells to exist as his home and turf, the Maw. So credit where credit is due, I at least can see why nobody would want to go there ever. Ugh. I could rag on how disappointing and rushed the villains in Warlords of Draenor, Legion, Battle for Azeroth were handled. But at least they were fun, at least I can enjoy them in a manner of minutes that they were all in. But Shadowlands? Zovol? That's where enjoyment dies. That's where Warcraft's dark years will remain. Zovol is the bane of my existence. But Zovol is fascinating. Fascinating on just how poorly scribed and made up a villain and character could be. I'm not even sure such a baddie could ever be topped in just how poorly made they were and are. And in many ways, I'm happy he exists. I'm happy he existed. I'm happy we got to this point. Why? Because the villains got their grooves back. Title drop because of him. It's evident, at least to me, that the response to Zolval was heard, was met. That the track record of what had been happening with their villains could not just go on anymore, any further. They had to do something. They had to create not just one, not just two, but 4 iconic villains right out of the gate for Dragonflight. The Incarnates. The Incarnates are not a new team of villains talked about on this channel, and likely they'll never not be talked about. With Zolval, flat out, I'm gonna admit, I wanted to get that section done as fast as possible. Gone right through. I do not like talking about him at all. Even clowning on him is tiring because, well, everyone does that. It's not hard. But the Incarnates, these guys, they are so refreshing. Their lore is juicy and actually makes sense in the story. There was such a long gap between facing Galakrond to the War of the Ancients, so it makes sense that there would be a conflict between dragons and proto-dragons on, well, becoming dragons, of becoming soldiers for the Titans themselves. That's the Incarnates, a reflection of the dragon aspects. Powerful dragons, siblings not by blood, who rejected the Titans, rejected the aspects, and got their power from Azeroth herself. In a way, it seems. They became elemental lorded dragons who had beef with the Titans for their schemes to their world, and ultimately were imprisoned for a long time. Villains who were justified? Kinda? I love those. And their designs, oh! Not only do they look cool in their draconic forms representing each of the elementals that they've consumed, and, well, are, but also they've got even cooler looking designs in their mortal-like visage forms. Well, not Razagath, sadly, but artists have done a great job. Vrak, a lizard almost insectoid kind of look, topped with horns of fire, sleek and slim, with the face of a murderer about him. Vyranoth, the cool-looking, literally, regal leader, looking less like a dragon but more like a large sheet of ice in the form of a flower and person. And a Ridicron, my absolute favorite boy. Hooded with long robes, a long cloak, shoulders with a frickin' dragon tail, and a ripped open chest and an almost skeletal-like appearance about him. The Sith Lord and leader of the group, as I often call him. Each one their own personality. Each one their own vendetta and reasons for hating the Titans. Each one bringing back that wow factor that I was talking about. The only downside still is that we don't get enough of them. And Vyranoth quickly became a good guy. But all in all, the Incarnates were our first real treat back in the villainhood in Warcraft, and the reception to them was seemingly very positive and remains positive. Many are still eagerly awaiting a Ridicron's return for Last Titan, and it's open to some of the others returning as well. Maybe Farak as a Fire Lord, and of course, Vyranoth being active on the good guy side. But I'm really excited to see what a Ridicron has cooked up for his true enemies, the Titans, and if he'll pull off killing them as he's hinted at time and time again. But the Incarnates really brought me into just enjoying the villains again, following Shadowlands. But following that thread, following that connective tissue that a Ridicron brought with him, was Xal'atath, the Harbinger of the Void. Xal'atath is another fine addition to this villainous collection.
This will make a fine addition to my collection.
Whose own journey started since Legion as a legendary dagger, the blade of the Black Empire. But the backstory really began a long time ago, even before Legion. Seemingly a mortal brought into the void by Dementius after consuming her world maybe, and later was sealed inside a dagger for her ambitions getting too high even for the old gods, it seems. Now she's freed from that dagger thanks to our actions. Now she's on the loose causing all sorts of havoc in her wake. She's appearing all over the place, she's got motivations for power, but they're also still kind of vague. She wants to claim our world for herself, and now she's amongst the strongest in our universe to do so, thanks to the Dark Heart a Ridicron delivered to her. After the very Dark Heart consumed Dalaran, parts of Beledar, and lastly, Dementius, her former boss himself. She's got a great design in her currently possessed form of a Void Elf's body. Dressed in black and gold, would very well be the agents of the Black Empire might have worn, or something akin to it. As well as a lost language or a written language across her face as well. With iconography of the blade of the Black Empire on her waist as a belt. Embracing that part of her life as a dagger instead of trying to forget it. As on her back, she's got the same colored cloak as her armor, but it's symbolized or made in a way that reminds us of the Naru, beings of the light that can be turned to the void. She's also got these two void orbs hovering around her at times, which to me invokes the elf she's currently possessed maybe. Definitely reminds me of Kel'Thas at the very least. She's also got bare feet. I'm not sure what you want me to say beyond that. Xal'atath is the villain for this saga, and she's certainly trying to aim herself as one of Warcraft's iconic villains, like the ones I mentioned earlier, and I feel and believe she'll maybe do so. She's on the right track and certainly has both my attention and curiosity as to what her whole deal and goal is. She's got things going on for her, just as the Incarnates did. Her manipulation over others, one of her constants as a character, is something you can feel affecting others. Even other villains like Queen Ansarak, who is a villain that exists, and a long time off-again villain like Jaster Gallywix, both in which she recruited and both in which she left to their own fates. To death. Who comes after Xal'atath after everything has transpired for the saga? I'm unsure. Could be a certain Queen of the Naga who is still out there. Could be the conniving asshole, the Nathrius. Could be many things. Could even be something or someone new. Hey, could be that frickin' Dark Sargeras guy, that Dark Titan dude. Hey, maybe. Got that sword. Or he's gonna get that sword. But what I do know is that we're back on track with our villains. And that makes me happy. And I hope it stays that way. But let me know what you all think. Do you think Warcraft villains are enticing again? Who are some of your favorites, both old and new? Let me know your thoughts down below. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I've been Kono your lovely time demigod and host. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos like this one in the future. You can also check out my last machinima where Banneret takes the fight to the Scarlet Crusade. Appreciate it if you guys check that out. Worked really hard on that. Be sure to join our Discord for more discussions with myself and the community. And a special thanks to the patrons and YouTube members for keeping this channel alive and well. But until next time, my friends,